Hello YouTube, Miss Watts, and anyone else who wants to watch this video for some reason. I'm Brandon, and this video is going to be my psychoanalytical analysis of the book Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. And so, in Crime and Punishment, the main character Raskolnikov is depicted as a paranoid and guilt-ridden man after committing the murder of an old woman and her sister. Through these feelings and Raskolnikov's responses to these feelings, the novel conveys that retribution for the violation of a law is inevitable. Despite all attempts to avoid it, a sense of guilt invades the subconsciousness of a criminal and causes intense psychological stress, such as paranoia, because every person is subject to a set of morals. Therefore, guiltiness will cause even the toughest criminals to eventually make grave errors and lead to their self-incrimination. And Dostoevsky communicates this theme through Raskolnikov's lengthy internal monologue, frantic dreams, and dialogue with other characters. So let's start off with Raskolnikov's paranoia and fear. So Raskolnikov is portrayed as an extremely paranoid man throughout the novel, always fearful of being caught for his crimes. So we see this very early on when Raskolnikov kicks all of his friends out of his room because they were talking about the murder. He states, let me alone, all of you," Raskolnikov cried in a frenzy. "Will you ever leave off tormenting me? I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of anyone now. Get away from me. I want to be alone. So the passion and emotion behind these lines signifies that Raskolnikov really just wants his friends and other people around him to just stop talking about the murder. And he feels tormented because he feels great anguish and great stress when he's actually reminded of his actions during the crime. In a way, he kind of feels as though the world's toying with him because his friends are describing details that are basically like the same as that of the actual murder, even though they have no clue about anything about the murder. They're just suspecting stuff. So to Raskolnikov, the world kind of already knows that he's the murderer, yet they're also toying with him so that he'll come out, break down, and confess publicly. So to Raskolnikov, the world is already against him. And also, Raskolnikov believes the police suspect him. In one scene where Raskolnikov is talking with the police, Raskolnikov states, "I see clearly at last that you actually suspect me of murdering that old woman and her sister Lizaveta. Let me tell you for my part that I am sick of this. If you find that you have a right to prosecute me legally, to arrest me, then prosecute me, arrest me. But I will not let myself be jeered at to my face and worried." So in these lines, Raskolnikov clearly states that if the police have the means to arrest him legally, by all means, arrest me. But at the same time, he does not want people to be laughing at him, to toy with him, and he definitely does not want to be worried or paranoid 24/7. So to Raskolnikov, a life where he's in prison, arrested, is actually preferable to living the life of a free man who has to deal with all the torment and all the stress about the crime all the time. And so when we connect to the theme, Raskolnikov clearly demonstrates that he is fearful of his surroundings. The fear and paranoia built up inside of him is starting to make him go into violent outbursts that signal to varying degrees of subtlety that he was involved in the crime. And when he finally confesses at the end of the novel, he rids himself of all these emotions that haunted him. They caused him to give away a secret and lead to his eventual arrest. Now, where did all this paranoia and fear come from? Well, Raskolnikov's paranoia stems from his strong guilt. Even with his attempts to justify the murder through defense mechanisms like denial, his subconscious echoes the real feelings he has about the murder. And so throughout the book, Raskolnikov routinely denies that the murder was an evil deed. Instead, he maintains the old woman was a louse that he killed for the betterment of humanity. He believed that the woman was a vile and noxious insect that just sucked the life out of poor people. So in Raskolnikov's eyes, the killing was justified because he was getting rid of someone who was just exploiting other people and just never giving back to them. Eventually, just someone who just exploited other people and benefited only. And clearly, Raskolnikov's idea about the murder contrasts greatly with what society views murder, because society views murder in a very negative light. And I mean, there's a reason why he is going to be punished for his crime, because society does not agree that he killed an innocent person. And so on the outside, Raskolnikov is actively denying that the murder was a negative and bad thing. Instead, Raskolnikov is satisfied with his murder and believes that the murder will hold great significance for the rest of society. Now that's just all on the outside. On the inside, Raskolnikov is in fact very guilt-ridden. About halfway through the book, Raskolnikov experiences a dream where he relives the murder, but this time, when he tries to kill the old woman just stands there and just laughs at him as Raskolnikov desperately attempts to hack away at her. And as Raskolnikov is failing over and over again, there's a ton of unknown, just random people surrounding the two, and those people are potential witnesses to Raskolnikov's crime. So they're just watching him try to kill this old woman again. And so dreams signal the deepest parts of the subconscious, and the fact that Raskolnikov is reliving the murder signifies that the murder, whether he knows it or not, holds significant weight to his subconscious. And the dream is a consequence of the guilt he feels. Raskolnikov feels scared because, as shown by all those people that are just watching him commit this alternative fake murder, all those people, or any of those people, could just straight up report him to the police and get him arrested. And he's very paranoid about that happening. And so Raskolnikov feels guilt not necessarily because he felt that the old woman was worth sparing. In fact, he felt the exact opposite. Instead, Raskolnikov feels guilty and regret for his crime because he essentially destroyed his old life. He killed it off. He cannot live in peace. He's always stressed, always paranoid, and always fearful of his surroundings. And these memories just kept on haunting him every day. So in connection to the theme, throughout the story, Raskolnikov regularly denies the evilness of his crime. Instead, he praises himself on the outside for his actions, that his actions would help mankind. The dream that he experiences demonstrates that deep down he regrets his crime and feels guilty for the murder of the old woman. Even with his attempts to suppress guiltiness, the guilt served as a cause of the paranoia that eventually led to his own downfall. And so now for the final part of this analysis, I want to look at some words from the detective Porfiry Petrovich. And so these lines I'm about to read you, Porfiry is talking about what would happen psychologically to the criminal and what would eventually happen to him. And so here's what he says. He says, "He won't run away from me by a law of nature, even if he has somewhere to run to. Have you ever seen a moth near a candle? Well, so he'll keep circling around me, as around a candle. Freedom will no longer be dear to him. He'll fail to think. He'll get entangled. He'll tangle himself up as if he's in a net. He'll worry himself to death. He'll keep on making circles around me, narrowing the radius more and more. And whoop, he'll fly right into my mouth and I'll swallow him, sir." And so Porfiry is essentially echoing what Raskolnikov experiences throughout the novel. Raskolnikov was worrying himself to death. He was really paranoid throughout the novel. And because of his paranoia, he went through all those violent outbursts, like those I mentioned before. And as his paranoia grew, his violent outbursts just made it more and more apparent that he was affiliated with the murder in some way, shape, or form. And it doesn't make sense, because if he was not connected to the murder in any way, why should he have such strong emotions every time the murder is brought up? So that's why the police suspect him. It would make no sense for Raskolnikov to have such a violent outburst about the murder unless the murder actually means something to him. So in a way, because of his paranoia, Raskolnikov was slowly and gradually giving more and more evidence to the police that he is the murderer. And by the end of the novel, he's giving away so much evidence that he is the murderer that Raskolnikov's paranoia is the main reason why he turned himself in. He just had to, because there's no way he could escape it anymore. He could not keep it a secret that he is the murderer. So connection to the theme, even with all the variables set to where he could escape the legal consequences of his murder, Raskolnikov was hounded by the thoughts of his actions. These thoughts led him to make grave errors that sealed his fate. While it may seem like he had a chance at dodging punishment, he was doomed the instant he committed his crimes. And so in conclusion, Raskolnikov's journey in crime and punishment is the tale of a man who thought he could have avoided legal consequences for his crimes, yet ended up causing his own downfall. No matter what Raskolnikov did to hide his guiltiness from the police, his own paranoia caused him to reveal the truth piece by piece. Through Raskolnikov's story, the novel communicates that criminals will always face psychological torment and guilt for their crimes. This will naturally cause them to unveil their criminality and therefore their physical punishment. So at the end of the day, don't commit a crime because you're doomed to live through the punishments for your actions. But I'm pretty sure you already know that, and thank you very much for watching.